The end of Evangelion is a masterpiece and one of my favourite films ever created. It has everything you could dream of in a motion picture and has a plethora of sublime scenes that could be considered anyone's favourite. We got Asuka versus the Eva series, the JSSDF's assault on Nerve HQ, the confusing yet brilliant ending, the hospital scene. But to me, one scene stands above all, and that scene is the initiation of the Third Impact. But before I dissect the scene, I must first discuss what on earth the Third Impact actually is and why it matters so much to Evangelion. The Third Impact is an event that is constantly alluded to in Neon Genesis Evangelion, and for most of the show you get the impression that no one wants it to happen. As if it were to happen, that would mean the complete extinction of humanity. And that's why Nerve uses the Eva units to fight and beat the Angels, as if they don't, then they will fuse with this big fella and cause the Third Impact. But later in the show, we start to learn that Zayla and Gendo want to use the Third Impact to realize their human instrumentality project, which basically is the forced evolution of humanity via the fusion of all human souls into one entity. Now, with that said, I must now recap what happened prior to the Third Impact in the film. Shinji is depressed after spilling ice cream on his hand and wants to die. This causes best girl Misato to die after saving him. While this is happening, Asuka wakes up from her coma, kills a lot of Japanese army guys, destroys the Eva series, then gets annihilated by the Spear of Longinus replicas from the reactivated Eva series, and refuses to elaborate. Shinji sees Unit 2's corpse and screams several times as he gets crucified by the Eva series. Rei rejects Gendo's plans and fuses with Lilith to use Unit 1 as the sacrificial medium to start instrumentality and turn it into the Tree of Life, and gives Shinji the choice between leaving things as they are or to succumb to his post-nut clarity and start instrumentality. Well, that's the recap, so now it's time for the analysis of the Third Impact. I can't talk about the Third Impact without first discussing Shinji and Asuka's clash in the house. In the show, I always got the impression that Shinji and Asuka did have feelings for each other, but were both unable to confess their feelings for one another. But throughout the show, specifically in episode 22, during Asuka's breakdown, she says that she wants his affection, but is frustrated by his passiveness around her. And this scene, taking place inside Shinji's mind, shows he is desperate for her affection, and states that he wants to be with her forever, and that she's the only one for her. But Asuka is quick to point out that in reality, Shinji is really just desperate for someone's affection, and that the only reason that he ever wanted to love her was to give her a reason to love him. She says that he has never really loved anybody, and pushes him to the floor. This truth hurts Shinji, like the coffee burning him. Now I think it is a good time to talk about Asuka as a symbol for humanity in Shinji's mind. Throughout the show, Shinji is constantly getting screwed over by everyone, but in spite of this, he still wants their help. He still wants these connections. He still doesn't want to be left alone. The Hedgehog's dilemma is referred to several times in Evangelion. This refers to how difficult it can be to get close to other people, as sometimes you can only get hurt more and more by doing so, similar to how hedgehogs cannot share their warmth due to their sharp spines, and Shinji, due to his connections, only suffers more and more when he opens up to them. This is most notably shown with Kawayu in episode 24 of the show. Shinji starts to lose his head. He flips the table, he throws this chair around whilst begging that Asuka doesn't abandon him. But when he is done, she breaks him with a single word. That word being no. Earlier on the dream train, Shinji states his frustration with everybody being dishonest with him, being vague about their feelings of him. He wants to hear what they really think. He finally gets what he wants, and it is a hard rejection. No. That isn't what he wanted to hear. And so the score stops, and he stands there in silence for a few seconds. Until suddenly, he reaches his arms out and grabs her by the neck, strangling her. Thinking of Asuka as a representation of humanity in his mind shows that deep inside he wants to hurt them and make them suffer as revenge for all the wrongs that they've put him through. To me, this act is Shinji loading the gun and pointing it at humanity. Next, we get a long flash of previous events from the show with Shinji and Rei talking to each other. Truth be told, when I first watched this scene, I was still in shock from the epilepsy from Shinji, so I did not get any of the dialogue until hearing another horrifying Shinji scream. I just thought that the montage of scenes from the show looked cool. I especially love the use of Shinji's turnaround, as that is one of my favourite shots in the show, so it just looks really cool in my opinion. Anyways, onto the dialogue. Shinji laments that nobody understands him. He thought that the world was free of pain, and that everybody betrayed him and his feelings. But Rei attempts to explain to him that he has misunderstood everyone, and only believed what he wanted to believe. And so Shinji, avoiding all rational thought, says that nobody wants him. Nothing changes if he never existed. So to him, everyone should just die, and it would be better if he never existed. So he should die too. Ray retorts by asking that if he is totally worthless, what would his hands be for? Why would he be able to affect people's emotions both positively and negatively? And so Shinji asks whether it is alright that he is here. Words reading no response appear on the screen, and so Shinji lets out another blood-curdling scream. This is him pulling the trigger on humanity. Ray tried to bring him a different perspective, but after everything he's been through in both the show and this film, all Shinji can do is hate. He can't even begin to consider the other side. He just wants to die and take everyone else with him. Shinji initiates the third impact. The end is now. Now that the third impact has begun, it is time for all the characters we've known throughout the show to be merged into one with the rest of humanity. First we get a look at all the Nerve personnel's bodies with their blood now substituted for LCL, then Ritsuko and Misato left without a trace. But after this is when the true horror begins. Every one of our main characters are swiftly wiped out by apparitions of those who they love most. I find this super interesting, like Misato sees Kaji, Hyuga gets Misato, Fuyutsuki gets Yui, and Maya gets Ritsuko. We also see that Aoba sees instrumentality for what it really is. Now at first I had no idea why he saw Ray, but then I saw this comment here saying that the reason they saw the swarm of rays is that he doesn't have any loved ones. So while all of his colleagues were happy moments before death, he wasn't. He was just cowering under his desk. Quite a tragic end for a cool character. Or he's just a nonce. Then we see all of the members of Zayla going out satisfied as their plans to evolve humanity have been carried out. They all return to nothing. They all merge into one, and they do it with a smile on their faces. As to them, all is right with the world. After more scenes that demonstrate the process of the third impact, we get one of the best segments of this scene, being Gendo's death. Now Gendo is like the biggest jerk in any piece of media I think I've ever seen. He's a terrible person and father. He doesn't seem to care about anyone, and probably worst of all, he makes his own son almost kill his friend. And that makes it oh so satisfying when Unit 1 bites him in half. I love how he gets to see Yui, like he always wanted to, but then Kaoru and Ray jump in by pointing out how he severed all of his connections in order to be reunited with Yui. And so due to all the suffering he caused, as a result of him being unable to get over his wife's death, all of his sins culminate to become his retribution, as he calls it, as he is barred from instrumentality, the project that he'd worked on for so long. If you watch any reaction to this show, you'll probably see the person watching cheering when Gendo gets chomped. To be honest, I was one of them, and the scene is capped off perfectly with Ray 2 picking up Gendo's glasses, and a shot of the three Rays standing next to each other's. It's just so good. Now after that, we get what is most likely the scariest part of the scene, which is when everyone on Earth is turned into LCL. Either that or the bit right before when the mutated Eva series moan while pushing the replica spheres into themselves. Anyways, the screams of 4 billion people as their AT fields are dropped are so terrifying. I really can't tell if these screams are ones of happiness or horror, but hey, at least there are now millions of crosses coming out the ground now. This scene is complete with the Ava series floating whilst T-posing, the billions of LCL dots being fed into Lilith, and Shinji being inserted into the hive mind. Top that off with a 2-minute long seizure, and that ends this incredible scene. Another thing about the entire third impact scene is that it's absolutely incredible, is the way that it looks, so let's talk about that next. Now I think you'll believe me when I say that I'm not an animator. Hell, I can't even draw a smiley face properly, but I know good animation when I see it, and oh boy am I seeing it right now. I believe this is the best looking animated film ever made. Sorry Spider-Verse, I still love you. But even though I can't give a very in-depth analysis into how the animators made this film look so good and smooth, I'll still try to get my thoughts across. The way that all the LCL souls move looks absolutely incredible. Like, I can't believe how many of them are on screen at a time. It's super impressive. I love the way that Lilith moves. I really like how weighty it looks and how her hair is flowing towards Earth because gravity and all that. Unit 1 looks amazing as well, and I love the full red background when Gendo is killed. But nothing of what I just mentioned this entire video so far is my favourite aspect of this scene. The contents are nice, the animation is gorgeous, the dialogue is amazing. There is one aspect which elevates this above all other scenes in animation, and that thing is the song, Kom Sussur Todd. Come Told is the reason that this video is being made in the first place. In English, the name translates to Come Sweet Death, which perfectly fits with the third impact, as it is a comfortable death. This song somehow makes this scene more terrifying, and this is due to the instrumental being so calming and positive sounding. Then you contrast that with Shinji strangling Asuka. Another contrast is that the lyrics are depressing as hell, man. They are a really good summary of Shinji's character at this point in the series, and also creates an amazing tonal dissonance which makes the third impact even more horrifying to watch than it already is. They also portray Shinji's decision to start instrumentality as an instant regret moment with the lyrics, "I wish that I could turn back time, cause now the guilt is mine." Other lyrics in the chorus highlight how Shinji knows that instrumentality will deprive humanity of trust, love and pride, and his split-second decision to end individuality is killing him inside. Other than that bit of analysis, I love this song for just how good it sounds. I listen to it all the time due to just how pleasant it sounds, which is remarkable because of how sad the lyrics are. This isn't really related to Eva, but Come Told enhances the snap scene in Infinity War so much. If you want to witness it yourself, watch End of Evangelion by Quacking Dragon. It is a really good video. Another great video is the German cover of the song by Nexus Harmony, which also contains probably the hardest edit of End of Eva ever. I'll put the links to both of those videos in the description. To me, the third impact is the greatest scene in not just animation, but film as a whole due to everything that I've just said. When I first watched this scene a few months ago, I was absolutely blown away by it. I felt like I just had to make an analysis at some point. Of course, this is all just my interpretation to the scene and the series as a whole. With a franchise as avant-garde and artistic as Evangelion, you're bound to get some things wrong at some point. So if you have any additional things to say about the scene or just want to correct me on something, write your piece down in the comments. And that's all, folks. If you have made it all the way to the end, then you have my thanks. And if you have enjoyed the video, why not give it a like and maybe even subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
Thank you.